Bilal Powell, and you're watching Dan Sports News.
No, Eric, and you're watching Dan Sports News.
I'm Edwards, and you're watching Dan Sports News.
This is Javon Cornell, you're watching Dan Sports News.
What's up, everybody? Daniel, Dan Sports News Flores here, bringing you the 27th episode of the Dan Sports News and Friends podcast. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dan Sports News to catch all my latest articles and news in sports. Today's guest is New Jersey basketball legend Randy Foye. Check it out. Tell me what's like growing up in Newark, playing for Eastside High School in basketball. Tell me about that.
Just growing up in Newark was, within itself was a challenge, but, everyone's story who ended up being successful in some way, shape, or form in life, their beginning or along their path, there's a challenging situation. Early on, I lost my parents. And, just growing up in Newark, that's tough as it is. So I think that, the city of Newark really molded me to the person that I am today. But at the end of the day, I think that one of the most important things that came from me being, growing up in Newark was just the toughness, the grittiness, and just understanding, that it may be tough now, but if you continue to work, later on, everything will be okay. So that was my experience growing up, just the toughness part and, just being a part of, a certain culture, having a certain background, entering, the basketball realm where I understood what it took, early on to fight, when all, your back against the wall, when, the odds are against you, continue to fight. And I think Newark played a big part in that. Playing for Eastside was, for me, was a dream come true because going to public school and, winning a state championship at that time, that was rare. Some other teams did it, but it was really rare. And to do that without having to go the Catholic route was extremely, inspiring for inner city kids. You see a lot of kids doing it now. You continue to see Catholic and private schools with a lot of success, but I think for me at that time, going public over the Catholic route and going to North Eastside was a dream come true because if you look at, Eastside history over the last, let's say, 18 years, it's been extremely successful.
Right, for sure. Newark Eastside is known as one of the best public schools in the state of New Jersey. Tell me about the recruiting process. I know you went to Villanova, but what other schools were recruiting you, and why did you end up choosing Villanova?
Well, it was, at that time, it was, Cincinnati, Florida, Seton Hall, obviously the Rutgers, our home teams in our home state of New Jersey. It was all of those different teams. But it just was, I think it was just more of my relationship with, at that time it was more of, just my relationship with coaches and the people who were recruiting me. And my relationship with Coach Hill was unbelievable. From 8th grade all the way to my senior year of high school, he was the first person to really, really show interest in me taking those steps to being a Division I athlete and showing his interest. So when he went to Villanova, it just was, hey, man, where do I sign at? I trust you. I trust you from the beginning. Where do I sign? Just let me know where I sign, and we can go from there.
And what was it like to play for Coach Jay Wright, who's one of the best basketball coaches in the college game?
I think the coolest thing about playing for Coach Wright was that, Coach Wright was so demanding, and everything he did was so precise. Like his game planning, everything was from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night. Everything was scheduled, and we lived by that schedule, every single day of the week. Even if we had a day off, we lived by that schedule. So I thought just playing for Coach Wright, he was always prepared. He was so well prepared. He's determined. His work ethic was out of this world. He understood what it took to win with, any lineup. He was always prepared in the game. If he had to go 4 guards, if he had to go 2 guards and 3 bigs, he always understood that. And that's something that, I think why the program is still successful, because nothing really changes. He stays the same. The program stays the same. The upperclassmen lead the way. The underclassmen follow. And then when they're in that suit, they continue the tradition. So I just look at it as him being extremely focused and extremely prepared and understanding the grind. Never taking the shortcut where you say, well, I don't have to do this today because these guys look like, no. Whatever, he did to get him there in the past years, he's going to continue to do that and, day in and day out to help the team be successful.
Right. And you had a very successful season your last 2 years with the team. What was it about your game that improved, that you were able to help lead the team in reaching the Elite Eight and averaging 20 points per game? How were you able to do that?
I just think it was more of, just, taking on that ownership of being a leader. And at that time, me and a couple other guys just saying, hey, we're the leaders now. That's completely changed the narrative of what Villanova basketball has been about, these past, 7, 8 years. And I think we took that challenge, and we were challenged every day in practice. We were challenged every day, off the court, in the classroom. It was a challenge, but we understood that, we needed to be challenged and we needed to be pushed at this level for us to have success, because there was no more excuses. And I think for me, I took that, personal, where I was saying to myself, like, every single day, I'm going to just go out there and give it my all and play my heart out. And if I win, I can look in the mirror and say, I gave my all. And if I lose, I can also look in the mirror. So that was just my mindset. And I think with that mindset, it helped me personally turn into, the player that I was, the leader that I was at Eastside. It just kind of turned over, and I started doing that at Nova.
Right, and you won Big East Player of the Year. How much did it mean to you to win that prestigious award?
It meant a lot, because where the program was at, just the state of the program, where it was at when I first got there to where it was when I received that award. It was like we were regular season Big East champions. We finished in first place. I can remember finished at the bottom my freshman year. And I just, like I said, just where we were at and to where we were at that point, receiving and winning that award was probably the biggest, since I think Kerry Kittles, I'm not sure, but it was like some of the most prestigious awards, because Coach Wright got Coach of the Year that year since, the early 90s. So to be able to do that, in 06, it just was, for me, it just was like, wow, I really I really helped put this school back on the map.
Definitely put Villanova back on the map as one of the top teams, and they've stayed to this day as one of the top teams in college. But playing with Kyle Lowry at Villanova, how much did he help you in your game at Villanova, and how much did you help him in his game and development in college?
Kyle was my brother, man, and we helped each other. Kyle brought a lot of toughness to the table. Kyle was a pest, when he was on the basketball floor on the court. And every single day he just brought it, rain, sleet, sunshine, snow, no matter what it was, he just brought it. And, that put us in a situation where it's to say, I'm not going to play against no one that's defending me harder. He's not going to play against no one that's defending him harder, and it was a couple other guys in there, Allen Ray, Mike Nardi, where we're not going to play against anyone that's going to push us or any other guard that's going to push us as hard as we're pushing each other. So, we take it out on each other in practice and we challenge each other in practice, but you know what? We're going to do it to the other team in the game. And I think that's something that he brought to the table early on in his career from his recruiting visit.
Right. Now, you and Kyle were both first-round picks in the 2006 NBA draft. You went 7th and Kyle went 24th. Tell me about how it felt when you finally got drafted. What did that mean to you?
It was an awesome feeling where, it just, like, I knew I was going to be a high draft pick, and we kind of knew that he was going to be in the 20s or probably end up being, a second-round pick. We didn't know. We thought for sure, in our mind, we thought he was going to be a first-round pick. But I remember getting picked, and I remember him, texting me and congratulating me. And then I remember after that, I just remember him going number 24 and me and him having a conversation and just on the phone, like, just so excited for each other. You going to Memphis, I'm going to Minnesota. And, man, brother, we did it. We pushed each other, and we turned all of this around like that. And I just think, that's just, it just goes back to what we was going through at that time at Nova. And it was a lot of pain, but then at the end, it just was a lot of success. The hard work was paying off, the dedication was paying off. And, we both, put not only our games on the line, night in and night out for Villanova, but our bodies, always guarding, bigger guys, sacrificing our bodies for, our teammates and our coaches. And with him, it just was always just something that she was extremely proud of, not only a friend, but like your backcourt mate, your brother, y'all enter, the NBA together. Like, that's kid's dream. And two people going together to know each other, from, the last 2 years, we've basically been like best friends. Like, you can't beat that.
Now, you're on the Timberwolves your first year. It's Kevin Garnett's last season with the Timberwolves before he ends up going to Boston. What is it like playing alongside Kevin Garnett?
It was great, man. Everything that, KG was about, I carried that with me throughout my whole career. And to me, KG is about, he's so intense. He's such a hard worker. He understands what it takes day in and day out to be the absolute best that day. Conquer the day. Work hard and get better today. Show up early to practice. Stay late after practice. Challenge your teammates. Treat every practice like it's a game. And that's what I took from him. I had some great years in the league. I had some years where, I wasn't, proud of it because of injuries. But every single year with KG being, every single day with KG being around, I was an absolute sponge in understanding what this dude is doing and what it has taken him to do to have this longevity. And that all I saw every single day was work on top of work on top of work.
Exactly, and it paid off. He's inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. One of the greatest basketball
Yeah, that was
players.
a given, though.
Exactly, right.
That was a given.
Right. You played with the Clippers. I'm curious to know, Chris Paul almost got traded to the Lakers, but he ended up going to the Clippers. What was it like? What was your reaction when you first thought he was going to go to the Lakers?
So many, like, I don't know, it might sound cliche or whatever, but a lot of times when trades are going on like that, it really don't you don't really worry about it because it could be, anybody during that time. You worry about your situation because your name might be, drifting around, not as big as, a Chris Paul's, but your name might be out there a little bit. So you really never worry about, what's going on with another guy, like a blockbuster trade or anything like that, because they get the headlines, but it's so much going on at the time around trade deadline that, I'm not sitting there like, oh, where's Chris going? Because I can end up being traded and going somewhere. So that's why I never, during that time, Chris Paul going to the Lakers really didn't affect anything. I'm just like, oh, the Lakers are going to be pretty good if they get Chris Paul or Kobe. That's it. But other than that, that probably was a thought for like 10 seconds. And then, worrying about my situation and what might be happening with me and my family. So, that was that. But when him coming to the Clippers was a huge. It was a game changer. He kind of molded me into the second part of my career where he was a point guard that loved to pass, and he needed athletes and shooters around him, and I was one of those shooters around him that played really well, and was a big part of us getting to the playoffs. So I think personally, Chris is a great player. If he went to the Lakers, looking back on it now, that he would have did him and Kobe probably would have won the championship. But, he ended up with the Clippers, and they changed that franchise from being, the bad news Bears to, a playoff and a contender in the West.
What do you think of what Chris Paul has been doing this season with the Oklahoma City Thunder, helping with the development of young guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? He's really the best player in the fourth quarter, in my opinion, this season. What do you think of what he's done for the Thunder this year, Chris Paul?
Yeah, it's just I look at it as it's basically the same thing he did, with helping, shape and mold a lot of the Clippers' younger guys. And I just feel as though that, with the way he did, how he was traded from Houston for Russell Westbrook. But I think he just went into, that organization and he understood, exactly what his role was. His role was to be a leader, play his game. And at the end of the game, when Chris Paul gets into a pick and roll, he can make shots and he can make free throws at the end of the game and he can make plays. So I just think that, like you say, yes, he's obviously one of the better fourth quarter players this year, but I think that he's molding those young guys and showing them how to win, not just put up stats, but showing them how to win.
And you actually played for the Oklahoma City Thunder. That was the team that played against the 73-9 Warriors in the playoffs. Now, you guys were up 3-1. In your opinion, what went wrong in that series that they ended up coming back to win 4-3?
I just think that game at home, that game 6 at home, we were playing so well, and Clay started going off, and it was like, it just was, everything went right for them in that moment, and it seemed like everything went, sideways for us. And they played, it was tough games, it was dog fights. Steph hit big shots, Clay hit big shots, Draymond hit big shots, Iguodala and Harrison Barnes and those guys, they made big plays, defensively. And I just think that, they had more winning plays than us, to be honest with you. And normally that's what happens. You have more winning plays. You have more, runs than the other team, because basketball is a game of runs. You have more runs than the other team, and you're going to end up with the win. And I think that's what they did. They just, when it counted, they outplayed us.
What's the locker room atmosphere after that tough Game 7 loss?
You can hear a pin drop, man. Like, normally after a game, the media is in there within, let's say, I'll say 15 minutes after. Guys are finishing up whatever, getting ready, getting dressed. And I think that it took the media probably 45 to an hour, because guys have to, they just starting to sink in there. We blew a 3-1 lead. So, like I said, you can hear a pin drop. No one said anything. You can hear a pin drop.
Did you have any idea that Kevin Durant would leave the Thunder after that season and join the Warriors?
Absolutely not. Like I thought that he was going to be a Thunder for life, but that's just the business, man. A lot of times people look at it from a fan perspective and say, "Oh, why would Kevin do that?" He had everything made, and on OKC, but that's Kevin's life, man. It's just like if someone make a decision to, let's say leave Samsung and go to Apple, and a lot of times it's not about the money. It's just setting them up for the rest of their lives, putting them in position to be successful the way they want to be successful, not the way people are viewing them and looking at them and saying, oh well, he could be successful this way if he stayed with the Thunder. No, Kevin wanted what he wanted for Kevin. He wasn't worried about the Thunder. He felt as though he poured his heart out and left everything on the floor for the Thunder, and it was time for him to move on.
I know they're now the Brooklyn Nets, but being from Jersey, what did it mean to you to play for the Brooklyn Nets?
Oh, it was huge going to the Nets. Like I knew, at that time in my career, slowing down big time. I was a vet. I was mid-30s, going into my mid-30s, and I knew at the time that it was going to be a situation where it was rebuilding. No draft picks. They had to, work around a lot of situations. They had to work around a lot of situations to just obtain some draft picks. So with me going into that situation, I knew it was going to be a rough year. But I chose to go for that one reason, because they used to be New Jersey Nets. And I stressed to my agent that I wanted to be there. I had a few other places that was waiting for me, but I just didn't want to leave. I was home, and I just I can drive into practice every day because I'm living in Jersey. But it was the front office there was amazing. The coaching staff there was absolutely amazing. They just did everything so professionally, not only around the players, but around the families and the communities. They understood what it took to make everyone feel at home. It was a homey atmosphere when you stepped into the building. And that was something that I know my wife appreciated. That was something that I appreciated. And I can see when my kids were there, I could see the joy on their face. So it was just coming back, east and being, Brooklyn is basically where I live at now. It's like 7 miles from it, just right across the, the bay, the Reuniting Bay, whatever. But like I said, it was home, and I remember receiving, the Player of the Year award on the floor when they were in New Jersey, and Jason Kidd and was on that team, Vince Carter, and I got Player of the Year in New Jersey that year. So it just was, like I said, it just was a cool feeling to just come back home and just be able to play. So I thought that was a special, that was a special season for me, even though we didn't do as well as I wanted to, but, it was just a special moment.
Right, and you played under Coach Kenny Atkinson. It was actually his first season as the Nets coach, and he just really did an incredible job with that team, transforming them into a playoff team. Were you surprised that he was let go this season?
Like when things happen, like if a coach is let go or a player is traded or players like cut, that's just, to me, that's just a part of, sports. You hear a lot of coaches say, we get hired to get fired. You're probably too young. You probably never heard no one say that, but that's how a lot of coaches look at it. And if you're not doing your job, and if you're not getting along with certain people, that you might end up get fired. At the end of the day, you might end up being the one that gets fired. So with that being said, no, I wasn't surprised, because it's a business. It's always a business when you do anything.
Right. And you played with guys like Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, and Joe Harris, who are still on the team right now. They've blossomed into some really great players. Any one of them really could go off for any night. Yeah. Tell me about playing with them.
Joe is he's a really good shooter. Spencer is Spencer turned into, one of I think, arguably their third option on that team. And Karras, he could be at this time arguably the third or fourth option also. So, they turned out they were already good, but just, making it to the playoffs and being put into that light, that just showed that they could do some really good things.
What do you think is going to happen with that team with Kevin and Kyrie next season? Could you see them being a team that's like the Warriors, making multiple finals runs 3-4 times?
With I would say with these guys, if all of these guys stay healthy, like they're going to be a contender. Just with the experience from KD, Finals MVP, making all those runs to the final with the Warriors. Kyrie was a part of, that LeBron stuff. He had the biggest shot of that series when they won it in Cleveland. And, Spencer been to the playoffs that 1 year, goes in the first round, but all of those guys. But I just think that they're going to be a contender. They're going to figure out how to get one more guy, and they're going to be a contender. And you got guys like DeAndre Jordan and all these guys that just understand, what it takes to win. So once that, because he was a part of those Clippers teams, but once everything falls into place, I just think that, given that everyone is healthy, they're going to be a contender. It's going to be hard to stop a Kyrie at point and a Kevin Durant on wing, shooting the ball, getting to the basket, making plays.
As we all know, Kobe Bryant passed away recently. Do you have any memorable Kobe Bryant moments, whether it was playing against him or anything off the court? Do you have any memorable moments or Kobe stories that you could share?
Yeah, I just think that the Kobe situation was a tragedy for everybody. From not only from wives, also from when you think about not just wives, but you think about the kids, guys who have daughters. So it was a touchy situation, man, where everybody just was, super sad and super upset. But, the coolest thing was always playing against Kobe, man, where, just always knew if he was, going left real hard, and always pump fake, he always get me, jumping to me, and be like, Foye, I do that every time, Foye. And like just little, moments like that where you go back and forth, and little moments like that where you shoot the ball, you're hitting threes, and there's stuff on the internet when Kobe was super mad because he out of the game, and you hit 5 threes in a row and helped the Jazz beat the Lakers at home in Utah, and everyone's going crazy. You try to chest bump a coach, they put the camera on Kobe's face, and he's so competitive and so upset, not only at the situations he's not in the game, but he's just so upset at, the coaching staff and his teammates from that. But that's like the stuff that I take from just him being a competitor, where he was just super competitive and just wanted to win everything, not just the game, but the matchup, just everything. So that's something I appreciate. I look at him, he's super successful, 5 championships. But that's just, you just look at guys like that and you appreciate it because they give so much to the game. They give so much of their lives. He gave so much of his life to the NBA and the basketball world. It's just something that you appreciate because during your time in the lead or during your time and just being a competitor against him, he has motivated you in so many different ways. And that's something that I will cherish for the rest of my life.
Your college teammate Kyle Lowry won an NBA championship last season with the Toronto Raptors. How happy were you for him? And what was your first phone call with Kyle after he won the championship like?
Man, I was so happy because, just those struggles against Cleveland and then getting so much, even being so successful, being an all-star, being all this different stuff, just was getting so much bad pub. Kyle can't do it, DeMar can't do it. And then now they got Kawhi, and they make that run and win it. Just my FaceTime right after. And you just see Danny Green, pouring champagne on him, get on the phone, he's laughing. And I just said, man, I'm just happy for you, bro. I'm just proud of you, man. I feel like I won it, and I'm just like, go celebrate and enjoy this moment.
Right. And honestly, I think they could still shock some people this season if the NBA returns. Siakam playing extremely well. They still have a team that I think they can turn some heads still this season.
Yeah, they can still, like you said, I think they can still get out there and make some noise. Siakam's playing really well. That starting five, like that little core group that they have that plays, they're playing really well.
Giannis was looking like the front runner for MVP, but right before the coronavirus, LeBron was coming on really, really strong. If it went down to Giannis or LeBron, who was the MVP at this point, in your opinion?
I think that it's still pretty premature because the season ended. Like, LeBron was coming on strong, but I think that Giannis had it. But Giannis was hurt at the time. He had something going on with his leg, and I think that LeBron was going to, have some pretty strong games. And then, it's basically what have you done for me lately. So LeBron having strong games and LeBron and Giannis not playing, that scale would have tipped a little bit towards LeBron's way because he's being seen every night. He's putting up big numbers. And Giannis come back and he put up big numbers and then kind of even out. But it was up in the air between them two to me.
Do you think the season is going to be canceled or do you think it's going to be resumed? What do you think?
To be honest with you, I think that, everyone, not just the players, but the fans and everyone that's working around the arena, the staff, organization, people who work in the organization. I just think that basketball at this stage is not that important until we figure out what's going on with no sport is important until we figure out what's going on with this COVID-19 because, a lot of people are dying from this, man. And the last thing I think that as us, as, human beings, we should be thinking about, is a sport that, guys go out there for 48 minutes and then there's a win or loss and then, no one dies from it. They get to play the next night or then, 2 days after that. So I think that we should, take into consideration that, these leagues, these big leagues around not only the U.S. but around the country, not around the U.S. but around the world, are losing, are shut down. So it's not just us. It's not just like the NBA shut down. Well, the NFL was shut down. The NHL was shut down. MLS, Women's Professional Soccer, the Premier League, China Basketball League, the Spanish League for soccer, like everything is shut down at this time. So yes, you're losing money and you're losing big time money, but there are people losing lives and loved ones. And so this is a national pandemic, and I think that when basketball comes back, it comes back. It's going to come back strong. We're going to be into it. When everything turns, we're going to be all into it, and we're going to be excited for it. But I think at this time, the most important thing for everyone is just to be safe.
Last question before I let you go. Was there ever a time in your career where you and Kyle tried to reunite and play on the same NBA team?
I think towards the end, my name was being brought up about trades. I think towards the end, I kind of said something to him like, hey, let Messiah know, or just like something in that frame where it's just like, let him know because, I'm ready. Or I think even when Mikal was coaching me in Minnesota, that he went to Houston and Kyle was there, and I used to still talk to Kevin McHale, and we used to have these conversations. And I was always super excited to reunite with him. But it never happened. But I thought if it did, it could possibly, do some amazing stuff. We could do some amazing stuff because we knew each other so well.